Makes no difference the presidential candidate, no matter their affiliation. They will all talk about the rules of law and how to bring America to a better place using the Constitution. This is all somewhat ordinary for anybody seeking public office. But if you drill down past that shiny veneer, you might find that all of these candidates are breaking the law. Sort of. And as usual, it revolves around money. Our guest is senior counsel with the Campaign Legal Center. Paul Ryan joins us on MidPoint. Paul, thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Paul, how 2016ers are breaking the law and getting away with it. That's your article. Wait a minute here. Isn't everything seemingly, well, sort of within the law? Explain, please.
Well, there's a lot of misreporting going on out there. People thinking that the candidate campaign contribution limits don't kick in until a person actually announces that they're a candidate. But that's not true. For many decades, federal law has been clear that the candidate contribution limits apply to any activity someone engages in to test the waters of a campaign. That creates a sort of Alice in Wonderland scenario where we now have individuals like Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton claiming that they're not even testing the waters of a presidential campaign, while everyone knows that they're actually running already.
What exactly, though, let's back up a minute here. Define testing the waters, if you will, because that seems like a pretty analogous statement.
Well, the Federal Election Commission's regulations define testing the waters as money raised or spent for the purpose of determining whether to run for office. So if flying around the country and setting up meetings with party leaders in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, lining up campaign staff, if all of that type of activity is for the purpose of determining whether you're going to run, you need to be paying for those trips with money raised under the $2,700 federal candidate campaign contribution limit, not with $100,000 contributions that Jeb Bush is raising into a super PAC, and he's not the only one. Every other prospective candidate out there who has not yet announced that they're testing the waters or actually running is probably violating this federal law.
Are we talking about semantics, though? Because, frankly, somebody like Jeb Bush, who didn't say this, but I'm just saying let's just use him for an example. Someone would say, why did you go to Virginia? Well, I went there basically to find out exactly what the beach is like. I mean, there's a million things it seems as if you could get by on this and not get caught, correct?
Well, I think we can expect honesty of people who want to be our next president. Sure, people can make up stories or tell lies, if you want to call it that, to get around laws, but that doesn't mean that they're not breaking the law. And at the end of the day, I think we need to be holding these individuals accountable for what they're doing.
Now, when we read here that the money spent to test the waters of a federal campaign must be raised under the $2,700 candidate contribution limit, is that an individual contribution?
That's the most you can get from an individual for a federal candidate campaign, $2,700. You can spend as much of your own money as you want. So to the extent these folks are spending money out of their own pocket, that would mean they're not violating the law. But in reality, all of the biggest, most likely prospective candidates set up new PACs that are not candidate committees, other types of non-candidate PACs, back in January. And there's no reason to set up those PACs and raise money outside of the candidate limits unless you're using them for politics today.
So, Paul, who's letting the candidates get away with this?
The Federal Election Commission is mired in gridlock. 3-3 votes on virtually anything that matters, with 3 of the commissioners having very little appetite to enforce the campaign finance laws.
And when you talked about in this article that every reporter should be sticking a microphone into the face of a prospective candidate and asking them whether they are testing the waters, do you think that would really make a change?
I think it matters to get these people on the record, because either way you get a good story out of it. Either you have someone like Jeb Bush or Scott Walker or Hillary Clinton saying, nope, I'm not even testing the waters of a campaign, which itself is ridiculous on its face. That's a story. Or you get them acknowledging that they're testing the waters, in which case we can hold them accountable for this $2,700 candidate contribution limit and possible violations of that limit.
Paul, you realize, of course, that what you're asking at the end of the day is for politicians to be honest.
I definitely realize that that's what I'm asking for, and you know what? I don't think that's too much to ask.
Better be careful, because I don't know if either one of us are going to get a table of Duke Zeberts if we continue to think about that, at least not inside the Beltway. They'll be turning us down very quickly. It's a fascinating story to read, and it has a tremendous amount of little nuances in it about what the FEC is in many ways letting people get away with. Again, how 2016ers are breaking the law and getting away with it. Welcome to America Politics as well. Paul Ryan, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Another wonderful example of how your government is making life miserable for returning veterans. We have talked about stories like this before. Now we're going to head to a certain part of the nation where there are billions of dollars that are miserably and poorly being spent. And again, it comes down to the veterans who are not getting their treatment. Time to go around the dial. The man from 630 KHOW in the mountains of Denver, Colorado joins us. We'll touch on that and a whole lot more nationally when we continue right here on MidPoint.